Ken Royal here at the Reed Intermediate School, Newtown. I'm here interviewing Karen King.
One of our first really big projects involved a school in Kosovo that had been destroyed during the conflict. And my students here had heard that this school had no supplies at all, not even pencils. And thinking as a fifth grader thinks, the students decided, well, they need pencils. And we have loads of pencils. We have hundreds of pencils in the hallway on the floor after school every day. So we made an effort to collect 10,000 pencils to send to the school in Kosovo. And that's really how it started. We called it Pencils for Peace. And one thing led to another. It started with a letter writing campaign to businesses asking for pencils. It grew and grew and grew. And in the end, we ended up not only collecting about 30,000 pencils for the school in Kosovo, but in addition to that, we collected gym supplies and art supplies and paper and pencils and a whopping $15,000. Which we were able to use to help them to rebuild their school library in Kosovo. And that was called Pencils for Peace.
So that started it.
That started it.
So what was the next step?
The next step involved a story. I had gone to Haiti to volunteer with an organization called the Haitian Health Foundation. And while I was there, a woman, I was giving out gifts, little gifts to children and to people in this village. And a woman came up to me who was roughly my age, holding a baby. And I asked her if she wanted any of the stuff that I had, but what she wanted were my shoes. I was wearing a pair of old sneakers, and she wanted my shoes. And it made a big impression on me. And so when I told my students about that when I returned home, this was a whole different class, a whole different year, but they right away wanted to collect shoes for people in Haiti. So we had a goal of 1,000 pairs of brand new sneakers. And we worked with local businesses and with local organizations, and we called that effort A Mile in Their Shoes. And we ended up collecting well over 1,000 pairs of sneakers, and working with a local business, we were able to match that with socks and with other supplies which we were able to send to Haiti. And that was called A Mile in Their Shoes because we wanted to experience what they were experiencing.
I was contacted by Jennifer Staple. And Jennifer Staple has an organization called Unite for Sight. It's a New Haven-based organization that provides eye care services to people in third world countries everywhere. And Jennifer contacted me because she knew that I might be interested, because she has an eye clinic that sends volunteers out to a refugee camp in Ghana. And at this refugee camp where they provide eye care services, there's a school. And she was wondering if my students might be interested in having pen pals at this school in Ghana. And so she contacted me, and I have to be honest, at the time I had no idea where Ghana was on a map. I didn't know why there would be refugees there. I didn't really know much about refugees. But it sounded like a good plan. Her volunteers that go back and forth from the United States would be able to carry our letters back and forth, which made it very easy to correspond. So that year, my students and I got busy and learned all about Ghana, all about refugees, and we learned about why these refugees were there. And what we learned was that these refugees were from Liberia, a country in Western Africa that was in the midst of a civil war and has been for about 20 years. We learned all about the history of Liberia, which is very connected to the history of the United States. And we began writing letters to these kids living in a refugee camp. And the friendship really developed to be a genuine one because of Jennifer and the Unite for Sight volunteers who were able to carry our letters back and forth really about once a month. So the friendships weren't just superficial, they were genuine. And it was incredible how connected the kids became here. So after this wonderful experience of being able to connect with these kids for a year, at the end of the school year, we asked the school what they needed. And what they said was, when I wrote to them and said, what can we do for you? We'd like to do a little fundraiser, you know, to help out. And they said to me, well, we had a PTA meeting when you asked us that question, Ms. King, and we decided what we need, really, most of all, was pencils and paper and maybe some notebooks, because we have none of those supplies here at the school. So that's where they started with their list. They also had on their list, if we had any way of swinging it, a copy machine. And I remember thinking, that's so weird, a copy machine. Why would they need a copy machine in a refugee camp? We knew from our letters that they didn't have access to clean water or sanitation. They didn't have access to electricity most of the time. So what would they do with a copy machine? I mean, we have copy machines here in our school that jam every other day. And what we learned was that they also have no books and no teaching materials. And they felt if they had a copy machine, they would be able to run off copies and have many more materials for teaching, which made sense. They also have a generator, so they can have electricity for about an hour a day, and they could use the copy machine during that time. So the kids in my class worked with the Interact Club here at school, a community outreach program. The club gave us a grant of $500. We customized bracelets, plastic bracelets, and sold them in the cafeteria for about 3 days for $5 each, and quickly raised $3,600, which was enough money to buy a number of school supplies, art supplies, pencils, paper, books, things like that. And then in addition to that, a copy machine, along with 2 secondhand computers, which we were able to have delivered and implemented at the school. The school ended up using the computers as a little cyber cafe as a way to raise money for the school. And the copy machine was able to copy their materials. So that's how the year ended, and we all felt good. We were able to raise this money. It was the end of the year, and I made a decision at that time to become, if I could, a Unite for Sight volunteer that summer, working for Jennifer Staple, so that I could go to Ghana myself as a volunteer and meet the pen pals. So I went through about a month's training. I had to take an online eye care course. I had to shadow a doctor in town here, an eye doctor, for a week. I had to jump through about 1 million hoops. But that summer, in July, I made it all the way to Ghana, and my job was during the day to work as a Unite for Sight volunteer assisting in eye care screenings. And then lucky me, on the weekends and in the evenings, I got to go to the Buddha Burm refugee camp and to find our pen pal school and to meet our pen pals.
Because I just received the most amazing welcome from the school, the Carolyn A. Miller School in Buddha Burm. I had a chance to meet some of the teachers. I met the pen pals of my students, and it was an amazing thing to meet the student here, knowing and loving already the student in my class. Because they're both so lovable. I wish they could only know each other. I got to see the copy machine that the school has purchased for the school here. In fact, we made a copy with it, so I know that it's all working order. I received a very beautiful gift from the school, and that is this beautiful dress and headdress that I will treasure forever. You can see it's very beautiful, and it was made just for me, so I love it. But the real highlight of the trip so far was meeting Karis Hayes, because Mr. Hayes is the kind of person that I would like to be, because he has worked so hard, and he's done the really, really hard work and continues to do it every single day. So the welcome I received today was a little humbling, because there's nothing compared to the work that the teachers here and that Mr. Hayes are doing.
Okay, after returning from Ghana and this trip to meet our pen pals, I felt very strongly that it was a shame that I was the only one that got to actually see and love the children here and the children there. And I tried to come up with a way, along with several other teachers here, to allow the students to really look into each other's lives. And we got the idea for a photography project in which students could document their lives using... In the beginning, we thought that the photographs would show the students how different their lives were all the way on the other side of the world. However, as we started really looking at the photographs and studying them, I think the surprising lesson that we all learned was that in the end we're really very similar to each other. You know, a school is a school, a community is a community, a child's a child, and a family is a family, no matter whether you're in Newtown or you're in a refugee camp in Ghana. For more information about Unite for Sight or any of the projects, please contact Karen King at Unite for Sight. Email ufs@uniteforsight.org.